Hi, everybody. I'm here with the Visible Liberal and Ron Placone.
Hola.
Howdy, howdy.
So I saw this on the tweeters. This was funny. Craig T. Nelson tweeted this out. It's an improv game. This is Nancy Pelosi if she was at the improv. Right, or doing an improv game with Nancy Pelosi. And it starts off, Nancy Pelosi goes, "Can I get a scenario?" Crowd, universal health care. Nancy Pelosi, "I think I heard endless war." Somebody said endless war? I got it. Endless war over here. So that's funny. So there's this new resistance group. It's called Indivisible. You've heard of Indivisible, right? Indivisible. So they're the new resistance group. It says, look at what it says. It says South Florida's beautiful landscape is filled with a diverse, progressive, and concerned population that's ready for action. Inspired by indivisibleguide.com. Sounds a little corporate-y. They invited Debbie Wasserman Schultz to speak. This is I saw this tweet by Thomas Kennedy. Said Indivisible 954 invites private prison and big sugar ally and payday lender ally. People forget that. Debbie Wasserman Schultz to a monthly meeting. The resistance has officially jumped the shark. How could you bring Debbie Wasserman Schultz, someone who's in bed with private prisons, big sugar, payday lenders, screwed over Bernie, lied about it repeatedly, had to resign as chair in shame because she was revealed to be corrupt? Hey, the resistance, let's invite Debbie. No, she's the reason we have Trump. We would have Bernie Sanders president if it wasn't for people like her. She's not part of the resistance. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, FYI, is part of what's being resisted. Just so you know. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Hillary Clinton, not part of the resistance. Let's get that clear. Debbie Wasserman Schultz is a blight on this country, sticking up for the people who are screwing the poorest people in the country. And here I'm playing this video just to show you. So she gets invited by Indivisible 954 of the resistance, this corporate tool of the highest order, this progressive screwer over of the highest order. She gets invited to speak at a resistance rally. She's what's got to go. She's what's got to be resisted. The people standing in the way of progressives, cheaters, and liars like Debbie Wasserman Schultz. So just so you know, single payer, according to the Economist /YouGov, is favored by 75% of Democrats. 75. I think it's higher, but we'll go with that. So
I think
almost,
it's definitely higher because if 80% favor Bernie Sanders,
yeah, if 80% of Democrats favor Bernie Sanders, I'm going to say 80% at least are pro single payer. Independents, 58% of independents are pro single payer, and 46% are almost 50%, almost half of all Republicans are for single payer. The country's ready for single payer. It's here. You know who's not ready for it? Corporate sellouts like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, who takes money from the people who like to screw over the poor people for a profit. That's her name. That's what she does. She gets in power. She pretends she's on your side and that she's really taking money from the guy screwing you over. And then she gets indignant when you call her out on it. And then she has to resign from the DNC because she's a cheater and a liar of the highest order. But let's remember, she didn't cheat to keep Donald Trump out of the presidency. She cheated to keep Bernie Sanders out of the presidency. She cheated to screw over Bernie Sanders in favor of a corporatist warmonger. That's who Debbie Wasserman Schultz is. Okay. So here she is. She gets asked a question. So now these are all the words she says over here. I don't think it's big enough for you to read. But these are the words she says. You'll be able to hear, and if you can, I'll stop it. But here she's asked about single payer. The question is, Expanding on the first question of health care as a right for all, where do you stand on single-payer health care?
Expanding on the first question of health care as a right for all, where do you stand on single-payer health care?
So now 75, 80% of Democrats are for single-payer, and this is so you would think most of the people there are for it. So there you go.
I support the concept of Medicare for all, but what I support now, because we have already adopted systemic health care reform, is working within the Affordable Care Act to improve it so that we can make sure that we extend health care and,
So I don't know if you heard what she said, is that in theory I favor single-payer health care. But if it ever close to ever actually happening, I'm not going to be there. I'll say that, but in reality, I work against single-payer health care. That's in reality. Debbie Wasserman Schultz works against it. They know she's working against it. That's why they're booing her. You heard that. So she's saying, I favor a universal system, but I'd rather work within a system that would prevent that from happening. Let's keep the system that prevents the thing that I think is actually better. I think a single payer is better, yeah, but I say we just keep this one. Why? Because it's worse. So this is what happens when you're paid to have an opinion, which she is. So Debbie Wasserman Schultz is paid to have this opinion, and that's why they sound so stupid. Because when you're paid to have an opinion, this is what you sound like. This isn't her real opinion. That's why Rachel Maddow and Chris Hayes sound like morons now, because they're paid to have opinions. You could not be a host of MSNBC and be pro Bernie Sanders. You could not. That would not be tolerated. And you couldn't be against the TPP because you'd get fired like Ed Schultz. And you couldn't be against wars. You get fired like Phil Donahue. Everybody at MSNBC knows their place, and they toe the line. But right here we go.
Some of you may not agree, but the reality is we would be starting over. And just like I don't think that we should be...
But we would be starting over. And that is bad because why? We'd be starting over doing this thing that's much better, much cheaper, and covers everybody and people like more. But we don't want to start over. Why the fuck? Let's start over then. And it's not starting. Again, this is called gaslighting. So she's lying. That's all Debbie Wasserman Schultz ever does. She's lying. And she's saying we'd have to start over. But we wouldn't be starting over because we already have Medicare. So you would just expand Medicare. It's just bookkeeping. That's all it is. It's just bookkeeping.
Starting over by repealing or doing anything that the Republicans are suggesting we do. The Affordable Care Act is working. It's added.
The Affordable Care Act is not working. If the aim of the Affordable Care Act was to put health insurance out of reach for about 33 million people, then it's working. If the point of Obamacare was to have absolutely no cost control so people's premiums just went up 25% last October, then it's working. If by working you mean if Obamacare is working by people still can't afford their prescription medicine, then I guess it's working. Obamacare is working.
Quality coverage for millions of people. We need to expand Medicaid so that it covers virtually everybody. And so I support Medicare for all if we were starting from the beginning. But we're not starting from the beginning.
So that's the lie. So that's the Debbie. You heard Nancy Pelosi say that. Now she says it. That's that. So they must have got together in a think tank because right-wingers get together to decide on messages. Lefties never do. So they're not lefty. So they got a message. And the message is, oh, sure, if I was starting over, I'm all for it.
Hey, the transmission is shot on this 98 Accord. We should probably get a new car.
Hey.
No.
Hey,
we're
if
gonna
we were
keep
starting
this one.
over.
If we were starting over, but we already got this car, and it's here, and the tires are there. We're gonna keep this car.
So let's listen to more of this bullshit.
And I also have always supported the idea that I'm going to support the most significant healthcare reform that we can actually pass. So while I'm
She's for the most significant health care plan that we can actually pass.
So how about the one that 60% of Americans favor?
How about that one?
I don't know if we can actually pass that.
Yeah, the government isn't responsive to what the people want. You know that, right? Is that what she said? Is that what you're saying? That you can't have nice things in America because we're all corrupted and bought. Listen to what I'm saying.
that, Medicare for all and single payer was something that we could achieve if we try to put all our eggs in that basket instead of working to improve what we have. Then I fear that we are not going to cover the number of people that we need to. What I do support, though...
So it's this bullshit idea that if we say we're for Medicare for all, we're going to lose Obamacare. That those two things have nothing to do with each other. The people smell it. Everyone smells it. And that's why the Democratic Party is a failure. How the hell she hung onto her seat? It's because most of her constituents must be 75 years old.
Yeah, I know if we...
And they must get their information from TV. Because anybody who gets their information from anywhere else knows that Debbie Wasserman Schultz is full of shit and a liar, and she's an enemy of the people.
Well, I mean, if we try to poke holes in the logic of what she's saying, and we try to poke holes in everything, this clip will be 7.5 hours long with all the bullshit she spewed. But isn't refusing to go outside of the Affordable Care Act and staying within, isn't that also putting all of your eggs in one basket? Like, that's doing the same thing.
You're doing the exact same. What's the difference between putting all your eggs in that basket or putting your eggs in another basket? You're putting it in one basket. You're not trying to do two baskets. You're doing one basket. It's Obamacare, which people don't like because there's no cost controls. That's why people don't like it.
Yeah. If politically Medicare for all actually became viable, if we elected enough people to Congress that could make it happen, then I most definitely would be supportive of it.
So I don't know if you just heard what she said. She just said, well, Medicare for all, if we had enough people in government that was for it, I would definitely support it. Well, that's weird because I remember a time when the Democrats were in control of government, that we did elect enough people, and the Democrats controlled the Congress. They had a filibuster-proof Senate, and they had the presidency. And what happened? Well, look, there it is. H.R. Bill 676, Expand and Improve Medicare for All Act. It's introduced by John Conyers. When was that introduced? Let's see. It was introduced in 2009. 2009. That was when the Democrats had a filibuster-proof Senate. They owned the Congress, and Barack Obama was president. And then a Democrat introduces Medicare for All, which everyone wants and everyone knows is more efficient, cuts all of our bills in half, and covers everybody. Everyone knows it's better. And the only people against it are the people who in the pharmaceutical industry or the health insurance industry and the people who they bought in government. So this bill, it had 87 co-sponsors. 87 co-sponsors. So there it is. The Democrats own government, filibuster-proof Senate. Guy introduces Medicare for all, just like Debbie Wasserman Schultz said. Oh, I hope that happens. If that ever happened, I'd be for it. Here are the co-sponsors of the bill from Florida. Representative Robert Wexler, Representative L.C. Hastings, and Representative Corrine Brown. They were co-sponsoring it back in 2009 when the Democrats, just what you said, just what Debbie Wasserman just said, there was enough people in government. Well, the progressives the left had control of government, and you didn't support it. Those are the people from Florida that supported it, and your name's not on there. So again, if you needed and those people in Debbie Wasserman Schultz congressional district, they all must be 75 years old, and they don't even have a computer. How you could vote that garbage into office in her congressional district over a real progressive is stunning. Stunning. You're all fucking 75 years old, and they don't know a goddamn thing. And they don't care about single payer because they got single payer. Those people who voted for Hillary Clinton, they got single payer. They're already on Medicare.
Or they're rich enough that they don't have to worry about stuff like that.
Or they're rich enough and they don't have to worry about stuff like that because even poor Republicans are for single payer now.
Jimmy, would it surprise you that Debbie Wasserman Schultz has taken about over $1.1 million since 2006 from healthcare, private health insurers and Big Pharma?
That's a stunner. Mm-hmm. That's really a shocker. You mean Debbie Wasserman Schultz completely corrupted and bought by big money? That's a shocker. Except everyone knows it. Everyone knows she's completely corrupted. She's a fucking pathological liar. Pathological. Cannot open her mouth without lying. And lying to her own constituents. She's not lying to Fox News. She's not lying to Bill O'Reilly. She's lying to you, the Democratic primary voter. She's at an Indivisible rally. She's lying to you. So then some guy, as she gets done, starts to tell her that she's the reason we got Trump.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all so much.
Bernie would have won. Thank you so much.
You gave us Trump. You gave us Trump. There's a class lawsuit against you. You gave us Trump. There's a class federal lawsuit against you. Sir. And the DNC.
Sir.
You gave us Trump.
Sir.
You gave us Trump.
And then they threw him out. And he said, there's a DNC lawsuit right now. Did they even bring it up? I guess not. Because if you bring it up, they throw you out of an Indivisible 954 rally. Indivisible 954. Way to go.
Because they're progressives.
Because you're progressive. The fuck? Just become Republicans already. The fuck's wrong with you already? Get out of the Democratic Party. What are you doing? If you like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, become a Republican.
You know, and if you go to her website, it says something to the effect of her mission is to fuel progressive grassroots network to defeat the Trump agenda.
The exact opposite is what Debbie Wasserman Schultz is about. She's about squashing progressive agendas. She's the opposite of what she claims to be. She's a complete duplicitous liar. She's bad at it. She's repulsive to people when she comes on television. She is repulsive to those people in person. She is repulsive in general. She's got to be the most repulsive person I've seen in politics since. She's it. The next live Jimmy Dore show in Burbank, California is May 22nd. May 22nd, that's a Monday night, live in Burbank, California. Special guests, a great time. Get your tickets right there.